You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Bo Polny of Gold2020Forecast.com. Welcome to the show, Bo.
Hi, Jim. Thank you for calling, and appreciate to do this follow-up interview again, so thank you.
The last time we started, we gave a little bit of a history on your calls on the market, and we're going to do the same right here. To start, in 2011, you called the gold top at $1,900, the silver top at $49. Last November, in two separate interviews, you called the bottom in gold at $11.30 and within 48 hours. And then just 2 months ago, in our March 11th interview, you stated gold was making a very important low, and the U.S. dollar was about to top, and both events occurred as forecast. Now, in our last interview on May 15th, while gold was trading at $12.25, you stated gold was expected to have one final pullback, and as of yesterday, May 28th, gold started, or I should say closed, at $11.88, confirming your forecast. So what's next for gold?
Thanks. That's actually a good place that we can continue from. But as of last interview, when we were, I think the middle of May we were speaking. It was the 15th. I think you're correct. And at that time, gold was like at $12.25, and we were expecting a pullback. At that time, gold was at the 200-day moving average, and looking at the cycle work that we do, we were expecting a final or a pullback or a drop back down to retest its breakout point. And that's correct. So we did get it, and we got the drop, and today is the May 29th, 2015, and I just checked, and the gold is currently right around $1,190. So what's next for gold is an upcycle, which we have been talking about, that's going to continue into the month of June, and it will not stop. The cycle and the direction for gold is up into June.
What are the moving averages for gold, and what do they mean?
Moving averages, what they mean is there are points that metals could stop at, and so like the moving average for gold, 200 days in resistance for a long time. They used to use the 100. The 100 has now been broken, and now the 200-day moving average has been resistance. But the 200-day average, like we talked last time, is going to break, and it's going to break to the upside, expected very shortly here. And once the 200 breaks, it will become support. Then the following after that, you're going to have the 250 and the 300. They're all going to be breaking. And as they break, the shorts that are holding it down for 4 years are going to need to do something because, I call it scrambling for cover, but they're going to need to exit their short positions and go in the opposite direction. I know the world has been watching the COT numbers, and again, from a directional standpoint, regardless of any outside factors, again, when you do cycle work, you don't look, you can look at, but the cycles tell you direction. And so regardless of what the COT numbers are showing, the direction for the month of June is up.
Also, in our interview last time, you talked about silver and it meeting a 4-year chart pattern. On May 18th, it broke out as forecast. Silver, like gold, has since pulled back. What's your outlook for silver?
Silver went down, and it dropped from I think it was like 17 and a half or 17 and 3/4 in, I think it was like the 18th of May. Again, we were forecasting a down cycle. We got out of our positions to go long one final time into June, and so what we're forecasting for silver was we were looking for about $17 on silver. Currently, silver is at $16.70. So we're correct in terms of the reversal. And silver, like gold, is going to be going up. Silver is going to outperform gold to the upside from a cycle perspective. And again, that would relate to the ratios. But going forward, yes, on May 18th. There was a 4-year wedge, and that cycle itself, or the chart I'm discussing, is available on my website. If somebody, if you want to go look at it, is the May 10th, 2015 post, and so you can click on that. You will see in the latter page, it shows a 4-year wedge. That wedge did break, and it is broken on May 18th by 60 cents. Following the break, that went into a top of 17 3/4. We are expecting a pullback to retest the breakout. That is now complete, regardless of any short positions that are held by the commercials. And from here, now that the breakout point has been retested, we expect the direction for silver to follow with gold, or actually to lead gold up into the top, which is expected again in the month of June.
What does the latest bearish commitment of traders report mean for silver?
Well, yeah, that's what we just kind of discussed. But yeah, the last Friday, the report came out, and I know it was it was a lot of people talking about it. I spoke with Steve and Angelo as well, and we talked about that. But basically, on the 22nd of May, the report came out quite bearish, and from that standpoint, you figure that they were going to take it down, and it was going to get creamed. And everybody was expecting this week gold was going to get creamed, and silver, and silver went down 30 cents on that CROT report. Okay, it was bearish. Everyone was expecting a smash, and all that happened was a 30-cent move to the downside since last week. So rather at 17, we're at 16.70 on silver. As I've described, what happens in the end when silver starts to move, and gold, the shorts, as I've discussed earlier, once this bearish, it's a bullish wedge. Once the wedge breaks, and it is now broken, it is now retested. The breakout has been retested. Gaps are filled, and now all that's left is vertical price movement to the upside, regardless of any COT numbers that are published right now.
In the past, you mentioned a spike in gold and silver. Is a spike still possible? And if so, which metal would you expect to have more of a percentage move?
Well, the ratio right now is in the 70-to-1 range for silver to gold. So definitely silver will outperform gold into the top. I do expect, I've mentioned a spike in the past, and I'll discuss that in a few minutes, but I still see that being quite possible, and likely would be a good word to use. And so until the month of June is over, or not so much the month of June, but there is a specific time point. Okay, first, more subscribers, they all have a specific week right now, and then a few days before that they will get a specific day based on day counts, and I'll explain that a little bit later in this interview, but the day counts will be critical on timing what's about to come and expected here for the month of June.
Do you have a price target for both?
I do. Again, I will be giving that to subscribers. Not yet. I've made some large forecasts, and one way to look at this is if you look at gold, if you run a 10-year channel on gold, so you run the tops that have all been made in the past 10 years since the year 2000, and you run the bottoms, and you basically have a wide channel. The high part of that channel, based on just today being in May, the high part of the channel comes in somewhere in the 3,000 range for gold. Again, I'm not saying it's going to go there right now, but that's the high part of the range. The low part of the range here is the 1,200 range. Okay, therefore the median range for gold, just to get it to within normal limits, or middle price, that will be roughly doubling the price or getting it above 2,000. But the 2,000 is the median price easily for gold at this present point in time. So silver again is also when gold goes, so will silver. Silver will outperform, and I expect silver to my belief is silver will outperform gold to the top because of the ratio. And so yes, I do have price targets. Again, I will be giving those to my subscribers, but the bottom line is price or no price. It doesn't really matter at this point. It's more cycle timing, and the cycle direction is up.
Could a black swan be the likely cause of a substantial move like a spike, and maybe explain what a black swan is?
Well, by definition, a black swan is something that people are not expecting. If you look at the world right now, you could probably name 10, 20, 30 black swans that are possible. From looking at cycles, cycles take out the emotion. Okay, so there needs to be an event. Okay, whether it's a black swan or something, but events, there needs to be something that is going to trigger a final rise on the price of gold and silver in the month of June. So in the end of June or in July or in August, we can look back and know what the event was. But again, it will be an absolute guess for me to figure out what the event would be. So I'd rather not do that. But more importantly, is I know from a cycle perspective something is coming in the month of June that will complete the cycle, and I'll explain that again probably in a few minutes as well to you.
Off air, you were talking about the biblical Daniel's timeline and how this timeline directly relates to both gold and silver. Can you expand on that?
Well, so that's what I wanted to kind of touch on is, as we spoke earlier, Daniel's timeline is how it directly relates to gold and silver, and so I'll explain how that relates in a few minutes relating to the month of June. But first, let's go back. Let me explain how simple it was to calculate. When we, earlier in the presentation, you spoke of, we were able to call the $49 top in gold. The $49 top in silver, and then latter and afterwards we were able to call the $1,900 top in gold. How do we do that? And it was specifically using Daniel's timeline, and if you want to know it, I'll tell you this is how it works, okay? And this is not approximate math. This is finite, perfect math to the actual day. So what happens was I take a cycle high, okay? So the best point would be to start at, when you have to pick a cycle high or a low, and so I picked November 9th, 2007, why that was a cycle high for silver. Now you need to know the questions to ask to calculate this, because otherwise you'll never figure it out. And so it's critical to know. You got to go back historically, 10, 20, 30 years, and you got to do all the math to calculate it backwards. But I'm going to give one simple example of how easy it was to call the actual top and why we sold on the 29th. So from November 9th, 2007, you have to, the timeline is 1,260 days. So you take 1,260 days and you end up at April 22nd, 2011. Mathematically, there's a reason for it, but I'll just tell you have to add 7 more days. And that ends up to exactly April 29th, 2011. That's the day we sold all of our silver. How do we sell the gold at 19? That's another simple example, but this is how it worked. You go from you have cycle high in March 17th, 2008. You add 1,260 days, then you have to add 7 more days, and you get to exactly September 6th, 2011, the actual top date, for gold, the day we sold our positions. This was not a guess. It was anything but a guess. It was exact math. Okay? And so if you want, people can say whatever they want to say, but the point is, it wasn't not even close. It was perfect math. And so Daniel's timeline gives the ability to calculate backwards and forwards. And so then to answer your question about the month of June, the reason June is so important because from the cycle low, when we did the 2 interviews with Kerry Lutz and then Jim Poplava in November of 2014, the first week, we knew that was a cycle low based on, again, perfect math. That math showed us clearly that will be a cycle low, and it was. That was $1,130 gold. Now you have to do a 7-month cycle forward, and that 7-month cycle completes in the month of June. Okay? So from the low into the month of June, we have 7 months. Now the question is, when you were asking earlier about price targets, okay? The month of June will either be A, a new high for the year 2015, or B, a new high in gold and silver. But it will be one of those, okay? So the short positions that are being held right now will flee and will run for cover for what is about to come in the month of June.
We'll have more with Bo Polny right after this.
More and more people are looking to the Internet for intelligent, riveting, and thought-provoking interviews. To advertise on the Goddard Report and TalkDigitalNetwork.com, call 604-699-8600, 604-699-8600.
Welcome back. We're speaking to Bo Polny of Gold2020Forecast.com.
In our last interview, you forecast the stock market was expected to continue higher, and it has. How much longer do you expect to see the stock market to rise for a possible top, or is there a way for our listeners to find out?
I've had a lot of questions about the stock market recently. So I started studying, going back and I did the cycle counts on the stock market over the past few months, and I've basically now created what's called a stock market index. It's available on my website. But basically, it gives you the actual the week the stock market will top. And then it'll give you key inflection points of a drop. It'll then give you another entry point before, if you're looking to short, of where you can actually short it. But again, so the timelines for the stock market, yes, the market is still going to proceed up. And again, today is the last week of May. So the cycle for the stock market is up, regardless of any price action that's happening today or in the next few days here for the markets.
You've been talking about the Shemitah and Jubilee and how they fit into the cycles. Maybe explain how that works.
Again, so with the cycle movement and all the questions we've had about the stock market, we've taken the mathematical calculations forward and the cycle work forward. And what we found is there's two issues that come up, and they will play clear issues for the year 2015. The Shemitah cycle, people will talk about it, but the Shemitah itself is in the month of September, okay? And it's supposed to be, the last two or many times it's happened, you've had crashes, okay? The cycle work that I'm looking at does not show a crash in the month of September. And so the markets will be falling into that time point, but they will not be crashing in the month of September as everybody's expecting. But however, the month of September is going to play a critical role in the year 2015 and all in the years forward. So the month of September will play a very important time point. And then going forward, after the Shemitah cycle, the seventh year completes, then you have, it's the seventh of the seventh, so it's 7 times 7, 49 years. After that, you have the last cycle, which, not even a cycle, it's a year. It's called a Jubilee year. Okay, so I was trying to best explain in simple words, and so I basically found this phrase, and I think this explains it very clearly. For when they shall say peace and safety, then suddenly destruction cometh upon them. That is, the destruction is what occurs in the Jubilee year. And that will then complete the stock market cycle that we have posted on our website, which comes for a cycle low in the year 2016, which will be next year.
What do you expect to happen with real estate prices?
Well, real estate in a crashing cycle, equity people have it's going to be wiped. They're going to go away. Prices will drop. It's just, people in a depressionary cycle, people don't buy because they wait for the next month because it'll be cheaper, but then every month it keeps getting cheaper. So basically it stalls the economy, and it creates, a very, very big problem. So I see real estate, and this will not probably just be a U.S. issue. This will be more worldwide on this time around.
How far back does your stock cycle go, and would you provide more details of the cycle to our listeners?
Yeah, the cycle is available. I provide it for free on my website because I think that's important for people to have a look at. It's basically called the 252-year stock market cycle, available on my website. It's a PDF. Just click on it. The cycle comes back, or it's available, and it shows specifically a cycle start point with the Currency Act of 1764, as I've mentioned to you earlier, Jim, and it starts with every 21 years there is a key inflection or a drop from starting in 1785. You have the Holland Panic, and then you have a depression, recession cycle continuing on and on all the way forwards, and the next cycle low is scheduled in the year 2016, and that, interestingly enough, of course, coincides beautifully with the Jubilee year that we just spoke about earlier.
You offer 2 newsletters. Please tell us again about how people can get them.
The newsletters are, one is a gold index, the other is a stock index. The bottom line of both of them, it's timing. With everything, the most important thing is, when's the gold, when is the top going to come in June? the gold index will provide you that. It will give you a time point, and my subscribers all will be receiving it. But it's a very important time point because why? It's perfect math that's playing out into the month of June, regardless of what anybody says. The cycle is completing in the month of June. I believe it will be very exciting, and it's also as the cycle completes. Like I've said in an interview in 2014, all the bulls could and will be left behind if they are waiting for possibly lower prices. So the gold index, I think, for anybody is critical to have because why? It gives you access to all of my time points and specifically highs and lows. For the gold index and the stock index, if people are interested to know when the market will top, when key inflection points would be within the markets, and how that ties into September and and then also further into the year 2016. The gold index the stock market index provides very clear details on that too, because it gives specific time points.
Bo, they say in comedy, timing is everything. I think for the markets, the same saying applies. I
fully agree with you, and I find the math to be not close. I find it to be perfect, and so the cycle that I illustrated for how we were able to actually time to the exact day gold and silver, back in the year 2011. The math was not close. It was mathematical. I didn't do it. It was just we were able to calculate how it worked. And so nothing in the people look at the world and they believe free will. The only free will you have is what you're having for dinner, what your personal choices are. There is no free will in the markets. Life is by design, and that's all I have to say about that. And and the month of June is coming, and then we've got September coming, but 2015 is shaping up to be a very a lot of things going to happen in the year 2015, or call it a year of change. That's for sure.
Bo, and maybe a little insider thing for our listeners. Other analysts have talked to me and said, what is this Shemitah thing and why is it so accurate and where is it coming from? And I just mentioned your name and they said, oh, that's the guy. So
yeah, well, there's also Jonathan Kahn is the one that started it as well too. And, very, very intelligent man. But he's the one that started talking about it, and I basically took it from I looked at what he was saying, and then I applied cycles and math to it.
Thanks a lot again, Bo, for chatting with us.
Thank you, Jim. I really appreciate your time as well, too. Have a wonderful day.
My guest has been Bo Polny of Gold 2020 Forecast.com. You're listening to HowStreet.com Radio. Find us on Twitter at TalkDigitalNet. Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. That's proving to be very popular. Check it out. Comments about the show can be sent to info@HowStreet.com. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on HowStreet.com Radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com Radio is a production of HowStreet Media Incorporated.